former Los Angeles Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa. I spent some time with him out on the campaign trail. He shares why he is the best person for the job.
Stand by, coming out to cam in 3, 2, 1.
Public safety, an economy, social security system.
Running for governor is not a 9-to-5 job.
So thank you so much for being here.
From early morning TV interviews
So joining us this morning, looking to be your next governor,
to announcing endorsements.
Thank you.
It's just a small part of life on the campaign trail. None of this is new for Democrat Antonio Villaraigosa. Widely known for being the former mayor of Los Angeles, he also spent time at the state capitol serving as Speaker of the Assembly. The part of running for office he appears to enjoy most?
Pleasure to meet you, sir.
Being among the people.
Good to see you. You know, we don't need ideologues. We need people that are practical, that want to move us forward, but that want to work.
He touts his record on decreasing crime as mayor, which he says also helped the economy.
When you drive crime down in the way that we did downtown and throughout Los Angeles by nearly 50%, people start moving there and they're living there.
Villaraigosa firmly believes improving the state's economy starts here with those who aren't old enough to vote.
A key to growing middle-class jobs is fixing our schools and making sure that kids, no matter what zip code they live in, are able to make it.
And he's confident he can make that happen as governor, crediting his time in this building as Speaker.
You know, you got to count votes. You got to work with Democrats and Republicans, and I have a comfort level doing that and an experience level that frankly really sets me apart.
Fixing the state's infrastructure is one of the many tasks the next governor will have to face. Money from Governor Jerry Brown's controversial gas tax is expected to be used for just that. Villaraigosa supports the effort but says he'll make sure the funds don't go to other projects.
We're going to put that money in a lockbox. You can't ask people to raise their taxes for something and then spend it on something else.
In this crowded race, Villaraigosa views himself as a moderating voice.
Thank you. We don't need a screamer or a tweeter. You know, we need a healer, a uniter.
Hoping that will sway voters to elect the 41st mayor of LA.
Good luck.
Good luck, too.
Thank you.
To be the 40th governor of California.
Yeah, Nikki, we sat down with a young woman who was trafficked as a teenager by 2 different men at 2 different times in her life. She says the first time she knew immediately that she was being victimized, but the second time was a lot different. She says she met a guy that she liked and she did what he asked her to do in order to be with him.
When the sun sets in Oak Park, give it an hour. And a not-so-secret society steps out on Stockton Boulevard.
Trafficking victims walking around on the streets, and then you'll see their pimps on the corner, you know, because they're out there too.
It's a life many are too ashamed to speak about.
I've just seen so much.
Not Suwan Vaden. Her past doesn't have power over her anymore.
When I was 13, I ran away from home, and when I did, I was kidnapped and trafficked.
And it can happen in a matter of minutes. Suwan says when she ran away at 13, she met a stranger on the street.
I was walking down the wrong street and was approached by a woman that appeared to be pretty cool, but she ended up introducing me to her pimp.
And she says that pimp took control.
Oh, pretty quick.
Right away, taking her across state lines to sell her for sex.
So they actually took you out of the state?
Yeah, put me on a plane. They took me to Arizona, and then I ended up in Vegas. It was pretty easy for them to do it too. No one asked any questions.
Eventually, someone recognized the 13-year-old from a missing flyer and called police. Even though she was rescued, she would eventually return to trafficking.
That was all victim when I was 13. And then as I became an adult, I never looked at it as being a victim.
This is where things can get confusing for vulnerable young girls. Not all sex traffickers use force or fear to control their victims. Sometimes they use love. Suwan says her second trafficker was her boyfriend, or at least that's what he promised her.
And when I was 17, I met a guy that was pretty cool, and he was very good looking, and he had a really nice car. And we talked for a while, and when I turned 18, he told me that in order for me to be with him, I had to do what he did. And so I did what he did.
Sawan says it wasn't hard to convince her to prostitute in order to prove herself in the relationship.
Then I believed him because he had it. Like, I seen the things that he had, and so I thought that they would be mine as well.
But she would soon find out that there were multiple other women eating up that same story.
My self-esteem got a little low then, you know, that I wasn't the one that he really wanted to be with.
They were, after all, free to leave the life and go home to their families whenever they wanted. But whenever someone did that,
he would call and say, I'm going to die without you. I can't live without you. I need you to come home. And I would go back.
This is oftentimes how teenagers are tricked into being trafficked.
The unfortunate thing about it is they can't track them. They can't prove it. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, girls are just lost, you know, in the wind.
This is more common than many people realize.
Terry Galvin with Community Against Sexual Harm, or CASH, one of many local experts who say whether you recognize it or not, women are being trafficked all over Northern California, from low-income South Sacramento neighborhoods to neighborhoods with more resources like Roseville and Rockland.
We help women who are 18.
Galvin explains why this isn't just a teenage trend.
We help women who are 55, 59.
Because once teens have been trafficked, they're more likely to get trapped in a cycle of abuse, addiction, and arrest, finding it increasingly difficult to rebuild a stable life.
I mean, it's really important that they are afforded just basic dignity and privacy.
And a confidant who has been there. Here at CASH, sex trafficking survivors themselves help guide sex trafficking victims toward a new path.
It's having both a therapist and a mentor.
Mentors like Sawan. She says she was only able to break that cycle for herself after she found mentors who helped her.
And I've gotten through that, and my desire is to help other women get through it.
Having walked the walk, she has the wisdom to know why other women should walk away from it.
I've just seen a lot, and it really doesn't get good.
In a Fox 40 special report, Simone D'Alba breaks down the debate with a dermatologist.
I'm running! Walk, buddy!
It's an occupational hazard of being a lifeguard, spending 8 hours a day under the blazing summer sun. But Sarah Colson, lifeguard manager at the McClatchy Pool in Oak Park, says there's one thing that makes it bearable: sunscreen.
That's part of our uniform, actually. So when the lifeguards come in every day, they have to put on their yellow shirts, their lifeguard shorts, their pocket mask, and apply sunscreen.
Colson's lifeguard team uses sunscreen provided by the city. But for the average person shopping for skin protection, with hundreds of varieties for sale, it can be tough to tell what type is best.
We find something we like and we kind of stick to it after a while.
Claudia Rodriguez and her family use sunscreen every time they visit Folsom Lake. Rodriguez says as a mom, the most important part about shopping for sunscreen is finding one her kids will want to wear. They love the Sunbum sunscreen for one simple reason.
It smells like coconuts and bananas.
But the science behind the sunscreen is a little less obvious. And with a long list of ingredients, it can be hard to tell exactly what you're rubbing into your skin.
I can't read that.
The problem is there's a lot of misinformation out there.
Dr. Emil Tongeti is a dermatologist and skin cancer survivor. He says most sunscreens fall into one of two types: mineral sunscreens with ingredients that physically block the sun, and chemical sunscreens with ingredients that absorb the sun's rays. But conflicting studies disagree on which type is safest for the skin.
It's often a game. There's no standardization. There's no one company that tests these, so a bit of it is subjective, and they're kind of putting their own spin on it.
Despite the conflicting reports, Dr. Tongeti says he's seen no evidence that one type of sunscreen is better than the other, though he admits some patients have reported chemical sunscreens irritate their skin. He recommends, instead of thinking about a sunscreen's active ingredients, shoppers should be paying attention to the SPF, or sun protection factor.
You want to look for a sunscreen, number one, that's at least a protection factor of 30 or more. That's water resistant.
According to Dr. Tongeti, anything lower than SPF 30 won't protect against enough UV rays. And if the product isn't water resistant, it will come off too easily. And that's why he also recommends avoiding moisturizers advertised as containing sunscreen.
It's because those things don't stick around and do much, and you actually get deluded into thinking you're protecting yourself.
Applying sunscreen doesn't take long, but it could have lifelong effects.
You gotta get that skincare in every day.
For the lifeguards at McClatchy Pool, it's daily protection they can't go without.
It takes 30 seconds to apply sunscreen, and you know, if that can help you prevent skin cancer, it's worth the 30 seconds to apply it every single day.
Fox 40's Nicole Comstock shows us how one woman is lending her hand to solve some serious crimes.
Close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Picture the face of the stranger who just attacked you. What did his eyes look like?
They have to kind of relive through the crime again. They have to put themselves back in there.
Drawing from an innocent victim's darkest memories, one woman is shedding light on some of Sacramento's most horrific crimes.
I have the easy part of sitting behind the sketch pad to sketch, and it's really the eyewitness and the victim who has the difficult part of trying to recall all the different features.
Forensic sketch artist Joyce Lee creates composite drawings of accused criminals for the Sacramento County Sheriff's Department. It requires precision and patience.
I can't break down and cry, but I definitely empathize with them.
Treading lightly through a landscape of raw emotions to get to the facts.
I need my eyewitnesses and victims to be direct, like he had like a huge chin.
Once Lee traces a rough image of the suspect, the victim flips through a book provided by the FBI. It shows thousands of different facial features and expressions. And piecing together that clearer picture takes hours.
With a stroke of like a pencil or with an eraser, I can easily make changes.
Most recently, Lee's sketches have identified 2 young men accused of forcing 2 older women into their homes and sexually assaulting them, 19-year-old Ibrahima Wayne and 17-year-old Joseph McKeever. Their mugshots are unavailable as they're currently awaiting trial, but sources tell us their sketches are spot on. And recently, another sexual assault suspect Lee sketched was convicted.
In April of 2014, an American River College student was walking on this nature trail just 200 yards away from campus when she says a man with a knife assaulted her. She says he grabbed her arm and told her to be quiet, but she screamed and got away. And remarkably, during that brief encounter, she was able to remember enough information about what he looked like to come up with a sketch.
This is Lee's forensic sketch of 30-year-old David Oliver Dixon, and this is his booking photo. At the time this sketch was drawn, Dixon was already on California's sex offender registry, previously convicted of assault with intent to commit a sex crime in 2006.
The shape of the head is really important for the sketch.
Notice the similarities between the jawline and the nose, prominent features the victim remembered.
Do you think you'd be able to remember really specific details?
Yes. I don't know.
This is an important question for Cindy Russell because she very well could have been the victim here. She says she was on the same trail that day in 2014, walking her dog Lola, when sheriff's deputies were looking for the suspect.
He stopped the police car and said there had been somebody attacked back here, and so that we needed to be really careful.
She's since heeded warning signs on the trail, taking out her earbuds and paying attention to her surroundings, even though she shouldn't have to.
I don't understand the society that's become so violent and so angry.
Luckily, Lee doesn't have to understand what makes criminals tick to help track them down. She just has to understand what their victims see.
A split second, and they're still able to recall important details and features to come up with a sketch that's accurate, that looks like the suspect.